Hi, in our previous session, we had discussed a simple range lying within a single column. We'll try to build on that. In this particular session, we'll be covering various properties and methods that will be useful in manipulating ranges and also dealing with dynamic ranges. Before that, let's revisit what we had learned. So a range is either a single cell or collection of multiple cells. Now this collection of multiple cells can either be a contiguous range or non-contiguous. By contiguous, I mean that the cells of the range are within a fixed rectangular boundary, within a single rectangular block, say with X number of rows and Y number of columns. Whereas in case of non-contiguous range, you do not have any particular shape. If you see visually, you can see have blocks of cells widely spread across the worksheet. So it does not conform to a single rectangular block. In most of the cases that we'll be dealing with will be contiguous ranges, and hence we'll be limiting the scope of our discussion in this session to contiguous ranges only. Earlier I also said that we'll be covering properties and methods that will be helpful in manipulating ranges. Before that, I need to be clear on what I mean by manipulating ranges. By manipulating ranges, I mean that a range being a collection of multiple cells, we must have the capability to navigate to any cell within this range. For instance, you may want to run a for loop where we'll iterate through every cell of the range and apply some condition, and based on that condition get some output. So it can be like counting the number of cells in the range with values greater than 100, or the number of cells containing a particular text string. So the condition can be anything. But the moot point is, we must have the capability to navigate to any particular cell of this range. Apart from this navigational capability, we must also be able to resize the dimensions of our range. If earlier the range had dimensions of 5 number of rows and 1 column, we must be able to resize it to, let's say, 10 number of rows and 2 columns. And why limit ourselves to resizing? Instead of resizing, we may consider offsetting or shifting the range location. In our previous session, the range location was D5 to D18. We may consider it shifting by 1 column so that the new range location becomes E5 to E18. So all these capabilities of offsetting, of resizing, and of being able to navigate to any particular cell of the range is what would majorly constitute manipulating ranges. Apart from this, there are certain read-only properties which would provide informational attributes such as the number of rows, the number of columns within the range object, the address of the range, or the name of the parent worksheet of the range. These informational attributes can be very useful and serve as inputs in other parts of our code. The importance of these read-only properties will become apparent when you are dealing with dynamic ranges. While in the previous example, we had considered a simple static range with a predefined first cell and a predefined last cell. But going forward, you will be dealing with dynamic ranges. And over there, these read-only properties will be very useful. How you do it is you pass the reference of a dynamic range object to a variable name, and using that variable that is of the type range, you have access to the read-only properties such as range.rows.count, range.columns.count that will return the number of rows and the number of columns in the range object, or range.worksheet.name, which will give you the name of the worksheet in which the range is present, or range.address that will return the address of the range object. So we'll revisit these properties and these methods. We'll revisit them line by line by writing the codes within a macro. So if I am to summarize what we are going to cover in this session, we would be covering the properties range.cells, the methods range.offset and range.resize. We'll try multiple variations by passing on different arguments to these methods, and to extend the utility of these methods and properties, we'll take the help of various read-only properties such as range.rows.count, range.columns.count, range.worksheet.name, and range.address. So with this, let's get back to the worksheet and the VBA editor. Let's get started.